I pulled into my parents' driveway, sunscreen on, bag packed. My mom opened the door and said, "You were never actually on the guest list. We figured you'd be fine alone." I smiled and drove away. That night, I got a payment request. $5,100. Your share of flights and villa. I refused and sent $1 with a note. You'll have a surprise. 2 days later, my family screamed when they saw me in Hawaii. It was one of the worst travel preps I'd ever gone through. Nothing was smooth. I couldn't find my flip-flops, even though I swore I'd left them in the hallway closet. My sunscreen exploded in my bag. I had to switch duffels last minute when the zipper on my usual one snapped wide open like it had been waiting for this exact day to fall apart. The charger I packed was for an old phone, and I forgot to refill my prescription, which meant a detour on the way. Everything that could go wrong did. But I kept telling myself it would all be worth it. We were going to Hawaii, the first family trip in years. Just the 5 of us. Me, my parents, my sister Sarah, and her husband Dan. We'd been talking about it since spring, and now it was happening. A beach house, sunshine, something close to normal again, I thought. My parents told me to swing by their place the night before since our flight was early. Made sense. I'd crash on the couch. We'd head to the airport together. I even picked up some snacks to share on the flight. I had everything packed. Sunscreen already on like a dork. Music playing in the car. Full-on vacation mode activated. I pulled into the driveway just as the sun was starting to dip. I grabbed my bag, walked up, and knocked. My mom opened the door. She didn't even look surprised to see me, more like mildly inconvenienced. Then she hit me with it. "You weren't actually on the guest list. We figured you'd be fine alone." I thought she was joking. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. Nothing. Inside, I saw their bags lined up by the stairs. A cooler, sun hats, passports on the hallway table. Sarah and Dan were laughing at something on her phone in the living room like it was just another night. "What are you talking about?" I asked. She gave me this look like she was trying to soften it, but didn't have the energy. "Sarah's had a rough time lately." She asked if we could make this trip just about her and Dan. No tension, no stress. You two haven't been getting along, and honestly, we agreed. We wanted her to have something peaceful. They dumped me. Not because of logistics, not because of a mistake, but as a gift to Sarah. Like excluding me was an act of love for her. I looked over her shoulder one last time. My dad was in the kitchen facing the other way, pretending to stir something he clearly wasn't cooking. No one said anything. No one moved to stop me. So I left. Back in my car, I sat there for a few minutes, not even angry yet, just embarrassed. Not just that they cut me out, but that I didn't see it coming. The last few months, every time we talked about the trip, it was vague. "We'll let you know. We're still confirming things." I thought they were just being disorganized, but no, they'd planned everything around me, not including me. At around 10:47 p.m. that night, I got a Venmo request from my mom. $5,100. Your share of flights and villa. I stared at it, smiling. Then I sent back $1 with a note. You'll have a surprise. I opened my laptop, checked the flight number I'd suspected they were taking. It still had seats available. I booked one. Same time, same gate. They wanted Sarah to have peace. Fine. But I wasn't going to soak in my apartment for 5 days while they posted selfies from the beach. I found a better place. A private cabana, luxury villa, full ocean view, separate entrance. 5 days. I booked it all under their last name, and I added a note to the reservation about how the Miller family prefers early check-in and a bottle of champagne. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace too. But mine was going to come with a better view and a key with their name on it. I got to the airport early. I didn't want to risk anything, not with how perfectly this was all lining up. I even parked in long-term parking like I was just another member of the family flying out for a week in paradise. I kept my hoodie up and my headphones on, not because I needed them, but because I didn't want to be seen too soon. I knew we were on the same flight. I just didn't want them to know that yet. Boarding started, and I spotted them near the gate. My dad was holding his usual travel folder like a briefcase, even though everything's digital now. Sarah had a designer neck pillow looped through her suitcase handle, laughing with Dan over something on her phone. My mom was tapping her foot, checking her watch every few seconds. I waited until the final boarding call, slipped past them in group 4 while they were distracted with a gate agent about a window seat, walked right by. Nobody noticed. It was kind of beautiful. The plane was full. I took a middle seat, head down, slept through most of the flight, woke up somewhere over the Pacific just as the flight attendants were handing out drinks. They were a few rows ahead, talking and laughing like they were already on vacation. When we landed, I let them go first. They rushed off excited, ready to start their curated family getaway without the problem child. I hung back, took my time, and when I stepped into the arrivals area, there it was, my driver holding a sign that said, Miller Family. He didn't even ask questions. Grabbed my bag and led me to a black SUV with cold towels and a basket of fresh fruit in the back. I didn't even have to touch my luggage. The resort was 20 minutes up the coast, a private estate technically, separate from the main hotels. My cabana had its own infinity pool, a hammock strung between two palms, and a deck that opened right onto the sand. I checked in. The staff greeted me with, "Aloha, Ms. Miller. We've got everything set up for you and your guests." I nodded. They'll be joining later. That was enough. Meanwhile, I knew where they were staying. A decent resort, sure, but cramped. One shared villa for the four of them. Limited beach access, family-friendly, noisy, very public. That night, I took a walk near their side of the island just to see it. I stayed out of sight, but close enough to watch them shuffle onto the beach, clearly irritated about something. My guess? They had just tried to check in under their last name and got told someone else had already taken the good room. They didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. By morning, they'd be making calls, trying to figure out what had happened, and I'd be 3 margaritas deep on a lounger, reading a book I didn't even plan to finish. I wasn't trying to ruin their trip. I was just letting them feel what it's like to be left out. The first morning felt like something out of a brochure. The ocean was quiet. The breeze came through like it had been designed for that specific Tuesday. I had no messages, no calls, no noise, just a plate of tropical fruit I didn't recognize and the sound of waves. It was the first time in a long time I didn't feel like I was orbiting around someone else's life. By 9:00 a.m., the messages started coming in. First was a text from my mom. "Did you do something with our reservation?" I ignored it. Then Sarah chimed in. "We need to talk. Something weird's going on with the villa." That one made me smile. She followed it up with a voice message I didn't listen to. What happened was exactly what I expected. They tried to check in only to find out that Miller had already claimed the beachfront cabana and there was no second booking. The staff told them the name had been flagged for VIP check-in hours earlier. They were bumped to a downgraded room farther from the beach. No view, no extras. It was the only thing available. They were furious. By noon, I finally answered one of my dad's calls. He asked if I had booked something in their name. I said I had. He asked why. I told him, "I figured you'd be fine alone." He hung up. I spent the day lounging by my pool, ordering ridiculous food just because it was on the menu. 2 women I met that morning at breakfast, Cassie and Joy, ended up joining me for drinks. They were from Seattle, here for a bachelorette party that got canceled last minute. We clicked instantly. Nothing serious, just easy conversation and lots of laughter. They stayed late. I didn't ask them to leave. The next day was even better. I went snorkeling while they scrambled with hotel managers trying to upgrade or switch properties. I knew they couldn't. Every decent place was booked out weeks in advance. They were stuck. I passed them once on the beach path near a crowded bar. Sarah saw me and did a double take. She was in sandals and clearly sunburned. I was in shades and a linen shirt, fresh off a massage. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. That night, Joy and Cassie came back. We watched the sunset on the deck, then crashed early, just stretched out listening to music and the ocean. I didn't feel triumphant. Not exactly. I felt quiet. Still, like everything that had built up over the years had been released in 5 days of silence and salt air. Back home, I knew there would be fallout. There always is. But for now, they were the outsiders, and I was exactly where I was supposed to be. On the 4th morning, a resort staff member knocked on my cabana door. I thought maybe it was another welcome drink or towel service, but instead they handed me an envelope. Not from the front desk. Hand-delivered by a guest, they said. It had no name on the outside, just a room number scribbled in the corner. Inside was a folded piece of resort stationery. 3 sentences in Sarah's handwriting. "This was beyond petty. We're embarrassed for you. You've ruined the trip." No hello, no name, no explanation, just that. I folded it carefully and slid it under my drink on the patio table like it was nothing. I didn't even feel angry. Not really. It was more strange than anything, like they genuinely thought I was just going to vanish and not notice. And now that I hadn't, I was the villain for not going quietly. I spent the next few hours in town with Cassie and Joy. They'd found a boat tour that was a bit off the radar, owned by a retired marine biologist who offered reef dives to small groups. It ended up being just the three of us. We took turns diving, swam with sea turtles, and drank out of real coconuts. At one point, Cassie leaned back on the boat deck and said, "Is this what life's supposed to feel like?" I didn't answer, but I knew what she meant. Near the end of the tour, Joy snapped a photo of us laughing, me between them, shirt off, drink in hand, ocean in the background, and she posted it on Instagram. I didn't even think about it at the time, just another vacation pic. But that was the spark. By the time we got back to the cabana, my phone had 5 missed calls from my dad, then a long message. "Delete the photo. This is going too far. You're deliberately trying to humiliate the family." Then Sarah, "You're not even pretending anymore. Is this all just some pathetic show?" And finally, from my mom, "We've supported you for years. You were always different, but we never made you feel that way. I don't know what changed in you, but this is cruel." I reread that last one twice. Supported me for years. That line echoed in my head for the rest of the afternoon. Supported me. They'd spent years trying to smooth me out, ignore the things that didn't fit, make me small so Sarah could shine. That night, Cassie and Joy went into town to check out a live music bar. I stayed back. I wasn't in the mood. The air was still warm, and I walked down to the beach barefoot, just needing to clear my head. As I got near the edge of the resort property, I saw someone sitting on the low stone wall by the water. Dan. He was alone, nursing a beer, staring at the ocean. He saw me, but didn't flinch. After a second, he raised the bottle like a lazy wave. I hesitated, then walked over, sat down a few feet away. Dan didn't look at me. "They're unraveling," he said. "Your mom cried earlier. Sarah's been slamming doors." I didn't say anything. She wasn't expecting you to actually show up. He added, "Definitely not like this. They all thought you'd just sulk at home." I glanced at him. "Did she ask them to leave me out?" He didn't answer immediately. Took a sip, then said, "It was her idea. I think they went along with it because it seemed easier than dealing with another fight." I nodded slowly. He glanced over. "I don't think you're wrong, but I'm probably not supposed to say that." We sat there in silence for a while. The tide was creeping up the sand. A crab skittered past us like it didn't want to get involved. When I stood to leave, Dan said, "They're going to keep coming after you when we're back." I know. Back at the cabana, Cassie and Joy were curled up on the daybed, both half asleep under a throw blanket, music playing low on someone's phone. I grabbed a water bottle from the minibar and sat outside with them. Joy opened one eye, looked at me, then drifted off again. I leaned back and closed my eyes. Let them scream. Let them post. Let them spiral. This was the first time in my life I wasn't trying to earn a seat at their table, and it felt better than anything I could have imagined. The flight home was quiet. We were on the same plane again. Total coincidence, but it felt like some twisted symmetry. I boarded first this time, sat near the back with a window seat and noise-canceling headphones. I saw them come in, my parents, Sarah and Dan, tired, tan, and not speaking to each other. They didn't notice me. Or maybe they did, and just didn't want another scene. The weird part was, I didn't feel anything. No smugness, no triumph, just nothing. I watched the seatbelt light flick on and looked out the window until we were in the air. After landing, I ignored their glances at baggage claim and walked straight to the parking garage. They didn't try to stop me. I think even they knew there wasn't anything left to say. 2 days later, the retaliation started. First, the text from my mom. "We've decided to pause communication for a while. Emotions are still high. You crossed the line, Ella." Then my dad. "We hope you reflect on the choices you made and the damage done." But the real message came in the form of money. They filed a formal payment request through Venmo again. $15 and $100. Flights, villa. Emotional distress, not included. I denied it. They tried again. I denied it again. Then I blocked both of them. Sarah didn't block me. She did something worse. She started texting constantly, not to talk, but to provoke. "Hope your little stunt was worth it. You really think this makes you look strong? It's pathetic. You've always been selfish. Don't expect this to just go away." I didn't respond, not once. She escalated from text to voice messages, sometimes 3 or 4 in a row. I deleted them all without listening. At work, I didn't mention the trip. My coworkers asked how Hawaii was, and I just said, quiet, just what I needed. No one cried. Cassie and Joy followed me on Instagram. We exchanged a few messages, but it was clear we'd each go our own way, and that was fine. What we had was short, simple, and exactly what I needed in that moment. Nothing more. A week after the flight back, I got an email from my dad with the subject line, "Family boundaries going forward." I didn't open it. I archived it. Whatever line they thought I crossed, I wasn't interested in defending myself anymore. They made a choice to leave me out, to make someone else more comfortable. I made a choice to stop chasing their approval. Simple as that. By the end of that month, I deleted the family group chat and removed every shared calendar event I had marked. Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, gone. The silence wasn't sad, it was clean. By the time October rolled around, it had been almost 3 months since Hawaii. No calls, no family dinners, no check-ins. Nothing. The last time I heard my parents' voices was in that airport terminal, when they were laughing without me. And the last time I saw Sarah was that flash of her on the path, sunburned and stunned, when she realized I was staying somewhere better than all of them combined. They never apologized. Not once. They just shifted into this passive-aggressive campaign to freeze me out completely. My mom unfollowed me on everything. My dad blocked me on Venmo and LinkedIn, which was honestly just bizarre. Sarah didn't block me, but her texts kept coming every couple of weeks. Same tone every time. "You should talk to Mom. This went too far, Ella. Seriously." "Still playing the victim, huh? You just abandoned us." Typical. She never once acknowledged what they did. Never mentioned the decision to exclude me in the first place. In her mind, I was the selfish one because I didn't just accept being left behind, because I didn't roll over and pretend everything was fine when it very clearly wasn't. Eventually, I muted her, then finally blocked her too. Not out of spite, just because it was exhausting. She didn't want to talk. She wanted to keep herself angry. In early November, I ran into Dan at a gas station near my place. He was alone. He gave me a small nod when we made eye contact, then walked past me without saying a word. I didn't stop him. Didn't care to. I was done reaching for people who didn't know how to hold anything that wasn't about them. A few days later, I got one last letter in the mail from my mom, handwritten, a full page. She said she hoped I was okay, that she didn't understand where all this anger came from, that it was tearing the family apart. She wrote that forgiveness was still possible, but only if I came forward and admitted my part in creating such an ugly division. I folded it neatly, put it in the drawer next to my bed, and never read it again. That was the last time any of them reached out. Christmas came, then my birthday. I spent both with a few friends from work. No drama, no forced small talk, no walking on eggshells. I thought about Hawaii sometimes. Not the revenge, not the petty satisfaction, but the feeling of that first morning alone, when the ocean was calm and no one expected anything from me. That moment when I realized I didn't need them to give me space anymore, I could take it for myself. It wasn't about punishment, it was about peace. And peace, I've learned, doesn't beg to be understood. It just stays quiet and lets everything else keep screaming. That's the last I'll say about them. We don't talk anymore, and I don't miss it. Almost a year had gone by. It had gotten to the point where entire weeks passed without me thinking about them. I'd stopped wondering if they'd reach out. I'd stopped checking for their names in my inbox or bracing every time the phone buzzed. Life moved forward. I moved closer to the coast, picked up more freelance clients, and finally started sleeping through the night again. I wasn't trying to rebuild anything. I just built something new. Quiet, normal, mine. I was seeing someone, Nick. We met at a gallery opening and hit it off without trying too hard. He didn't dig into my past, and I didn't unload it. For the first time in forever, I had space around me that didn't feel like it belonged to someone else. Then, last Tuesday night around 8:30, there was a knock at my door. It wasn't expected. I hadn't ordered food, and no one ever visited without texting first. I assumed maybe a neighbor needed something, or a delivery ended up at the wrong unit. I opened the door, and Sarah was standing there. She looked rough, not in a dramatic, falling apart way, but in a way that said she hadn't been winning for a while now. Her hair was pulled back, badly dyed darker, and she had no makeup on. She wore this windbreaker I swear I'd seen her wear in college, back when things still made sense between us. Neither of us said anything for a moment. Then she looked at me and said, "Mom's in the hospital." My mouth opened before my brain caught up. What happened? "Heart attack," she said. "Mild. They said she'll recover, but she asked for you." I just stood there. I didn't move, didn't breathe for a second. I couldn't even picture my mom in a hospital bed, not because she seemed invincible, but because I had finally filed all of them away into a part of my mind I didn't visit anymore. Sarah kept going. "She said your name before mine, not Dad's, yours." I didn't know whether to believe her. She handed me a folded piece of paper, just one line written on hotel stationery. "If I was wrong, I'm sorry. I love you either way." No signature, no over-explaining, not like her. I didn't ask if she meant it. I didn't ask why now. I just stared at the paper. Then Sarah said something I didn't expect. "She's scared you won't come. Not because you're angry, because she thinks maybe you've actually moved on." It was the most honest thing she'd said to me in years, maybe ever. And for a brief second, I felt it. That crack in the wall I'd built. Not a collapse, not forgiveness, just a flicker of something I didn't want to name. I asked how she got here. She said she took a rideshare. Her car was in the shop. The Sarah I knew wouldn't be caught dead without her car. I watched her turn and walk back down the driveway without waiting for a response. I closed the door, sat in the dark with the note still in my hand. Nick texted me an hour later. Just a simple, "Want me to come over?" I stared at the screen. Then I replied, "Not tonight. It's been a weird day." I didn't go to the hospital. I didn't call anyone. But I didn't throw away the note either. It's still on the kitchen table, folded, waiting. And for now, that's all I'm ready to give.